Few clubs in world football inspire passion and loyalty like Arsenal Football Club. From a group of munitions workers kicking a ball around in South London to one of the most iconic teams in the Premier League era, Arsenal's story is one of innovation, transformation, heartbreak, and triumph. Over nearly a century and a half, the club has been shaped by visionaries, legends, and a philosophy of beautiful football. This is the complete story of Arsenal Football Club, from its birth in 1886, through glory and struggle, all the way to the modern-day Gunners. Our story begins in October 1886, deep in southeast London, at the Woolwich Arsenal Armament Factory. A group of workers, including Scotsman David Danskin and the brothers Fred and Maurice Beardsley, decided to form a football club. They called themselves Dial Square, named after one of the workshops inside the factory. Their first ever match was played on December 11, 1886, against Eastern Wanderers. Dial Square won 6-0. Just days later, they renamed themselves Royal Arsenal, in tribute to their employer and the local armaments industry. Royal Arsenal quickly grew in popularity. They played at Plumstead Common, then the Manor Ground, and gradually built a following among the working class of Woolwich. By 1891, they took a bold step, turning professional. That same year, they changed their name to Woolwich Arsenal. In 1893, Woolwich Arsenal joined the Football League's second division, becoming the first club from the south of England to do so. It was a landmark moment, the birth of professional league football in London. But early progress was tough. Travel costs were high, attendances were modest, and local derbies were rare. Still, Woolwich Arsenal fought on, reaching the first division in 1904 for the first time in their history. The club's location, however, was a problem. The industrial area of Woolwich limited attendances, and by 1910, Arsenal was struggling financially. That year, businessman Sir Henry Norris, then chairman of Fulham, stepped in to save the club. Norris had a vision to relocate Arsenal north of the River Thames, where a larger fan base awaited. It was a risky move that would change Arsenal forever. In 1913, Arsenal officially moved to Highbury in North London. The new ground, designed by architect Archibald Leitch, would become their home for the next 93 years. With the move, the club dropped Woolwich from its name and became simply the Arsenal, soon shortened to Arsenal Football Club. When football resumed after World War I, Arsenal was controversially promoted to the First Division in 1919, despite having finished fifth in the Second Division before the war. The promotion, aided by Norris's influence in football politics, was disputed by Tottenham Hotspur, sowing the seeds of the famous North London rivalry that continues to this day. In the 1920s, Arsenal were stable but unremarkable until a visionary arrived. In 1925, Herbert Chapman was appointed manager. Chapman had already won titles with Huddersfield Town, and he brought revolutionary ideas to Arsenal. He introduced the WM formation, a tactical system that transformed English football. He redesigned the club's kit, adding white sleeves to the traditional red shirts. He even suggested the London Underground station near the stadium be renamed Arsenal, making Arsenal the only club in the league with its own tube station. Under Chapman, Arsenal became the dominant force of the 1930s. They won their first FA Cup in 1930, then 5 league titles between 1931 and 1938. Legends like Cliff Baston, Ted Drake, and Alex James defined the era. Sadly, Chapman died suddenly in 1934, but his legacy endured. His innovations laid the foundation for modern football management, and his team set new standards of professionalism and style. By the end of the 1930s, Arsenal were the most successful club in England. They entered the Second World War as a footballing powerhouse, with their names synonymous with excellence. When football resumed after World War II, Arsenal quickly picked up where they left off. They won the First Division title in 1948, led by manager Tom Whitaker, a former player and Chapman's protege. The team, featuring stars like Reg Lewis and Joe Mercer, played an exciting brand of football that delighted fans returning from wartime hardship. Another league title followed in 1953, but the club then entered a long period without major trophies. The 1950s and 60s were decades of change. Arsenal remained respected but rarely brilliant. The club prided itself on stability, but fans longed for the days of dominance. Still, Highbury remained a fortress of tradition. The marble halls, the clock end, and the elegant Art Deco facade gave Arsenal an unmistakable identity. They were a club that carried itself with dignity, even when results didn't shine. By the late 1960s, the hunger for silverware was immense. That hunger would soon be satisfied. The breakthrough came under manager Bertie Mee. In 1970, Arsenal won their first European trophy, the Intercities Fairs Cup, defeating Anderlecht in a 2-legged final. It was a long-awaited taste of continental success. The following season brought glory of the highest order. In 1970-71, Arsenal achieved the league and FA Cup double, winning the First Division and beating Liverpool 2-1 in extra time at Wembley. It was a historic moment. only the second double in the 20th century. Stars like Charlie George, Frank McLintock, and Pat Rice became legends. The rest of the decade was less consistent, but Arsenal still reached several finals. In 1979, they won the FA Cup, defeating Manchester United 3-2 in one of the most dramatic finishes ever, with Alan Sunderland scoring the winner in the 89th minute. In the mid-1980s, Arsenal once again sought change. They appointed former player George Graham as manager in 1986, ushering in a new age of discipline and defensive mastery. Under Graham, Arsenal became known for their incredible back line: Tony Adams, Steve Bold, Nigel Winterburn, and Lee Dixon, supported by goalkeeper David Seaman. The defense became legendary. Arsenal won the League Cup in 1987, and in 1989 produced one of English football's most iconic moments. On the final day of the season, Arsenal needed to beat Liverpool at Anfield by 2 goals to win the league. With the last kick of the game, Michael Thomas scored to make it 2-0. Arsenal were champions in the most dramatic finish in league history. They followed up with another league title in 1991, losing just once all season, then won both domestic cups in 1993 and the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1994. But by 1995, Graham's era ended amid scandal, accused of accepting illegal payments from an agent. His departure left a void, but Arsenal were about to experience another revolution. In September 1996, Arsenal appointed a relatively unknown French manager, Arsene. The British press greeted him with skepticism. One headline even asked, "Arsene who?" But soon, everyone knew his name. Arsene transformed Arsenal on and off the pitch. He introduced new diets, modern training methods, and a cosmopolitan style of football. He also reshaped the squad, bringing in French stars like Patrick Vieira, Emmanuel Petit, and Thierry Henry, along with Dutch winger Marc Overmars and Swedish midfielder Freddie Ljungberg. In his first full season, Arsene led Arsenal to the double in 1997 and 1998, Premier League champions and FA Cup winners. Another double followed in 2001, and then came the Invincibles. The 2003 season saw Arsenal go through the entire Premier League campaign unbeaten, 26 wins, 12 draws, no defeats. Led by Henry, Vieira, and Bergkamp, the Invincibles became immortal. No English team has matched that achievement in the modern era. Arsene also guided Arsenal to their first Champions League final in 2006, narrowly losing to Barcelona. That same year, the club moved from Highbury to the new Emirates Stadium, marking the start of a new financial era. While the move provided long-term stability, it limited spending in the short term. Between 2006 and 2014, Arsenal endured a trophy drought but consistently finished in the top 4, securing Champions League football for 19 consecutive seasons. Arsene eventually returned to glory, winning the FA Cup in 2014, 2015, and 2017, extending his record to 7 FA Cup titles, the most by any manager. After 22 years, Arsene stepped down in May 2018, leaving as Arsenal's longest-serving and most successful manager. After Arsene, Arsenal entered a new chapter. Unai Emery was appointed in 2018, guiding the club to the Europa League final in 2019, but inconsistency and poor form led to his dismissal later that year. In December 2019, former Arsenal captain Mikel Arteta took charge. Though young and inexperienced, Arteta brought a clear philosophy: tactical discipline, youth development, and attacking football. He won the FA Cup in 2020, defeating Chelsea, and the Community Shield twice. Under his guidance, Arsenal rebuilt around talents like Saka, Martin Odegaard, William Saliba, and Gabriel Martinelli. By the 2022-23 and 2023-24 seasons, Arsenal were once again challenging for the Premier League title, signaling the return of ambition and belief. Today, Arsenal remain one of only a handful of clubs never relegated from the top flight since 1919. They are known globally for their style, tradition, and youth development, a modern powerhouse still inspired by its rich past. From the munitions yards of Woolwich to the bright lights of the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal's story spans nearly a century and a half of football history. The club has survived wars, relocations, financial challenges, and managerial revolutions, yet has always remained true to its identity: class, innovation, and the pursuit of beautiful football. As the Gunners look toward the future, the spirit of Herbert Chapman, George Graham, Arsene Wenger, and countless players still echoes through every pass, every chant, and every red and white shirt. This is Arsenal Football Club, always evolving, always striving, always Arsenal.